Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Unstuck podcast, helping creatives pursue their passion. I am your host, Demi Harper, and this is episode 60. 2 weeks ago, I was supposed to upload a new episode, and life got in the way, but I'm back again, and every now and again, things like that happen, and I apologize if you're expecting a new episode, but I hope you enjoyed this one. If you are new to this podcast, this is the podcast that we help, like I said in the tagline, we help creatives pursue their passion. Whether you're an artist or a designer or a photographer, dancer, if you consider yourself someone that's in the creative field, this podcast exists to give you the practical tips and advice to help you pursue that passion and make money out of it and get value out of it and do what you're meant to do without being a starving artist. That is what this podcast is about. Use the hashtag Unstuck podcast for any comments that you might have, any questions that you might have, and as usual, the link to my email newsletter is in the description of this episode. And let's get on with it. So today is gonna be it's gonna be an interesting episode. This episode is about how to deal with bad clients. We all have clients, all of us in our creative field. I've had bad clients. You guys have had bad clients. You guys that are listening to this or watching this online, you guys have had bad clients in the past as well, and it's been rough. I mean, for me, I wish there was someone that could have guided me through how to manage clients in general, and let alone bad clients. We don't want bad clients. We want to maintain a good relationship with clients, but this is life. You don't, the same way you can't get along with everyone, you can't always have good clients, and it is up to us to learn how to manage clients and to have good relationships with our clients. And if it ever turns sour, what do we do? What do you do if you take on a project and the project isn't really what you thought it would be from both ends? The client is unhappy with your service, or you are unhappy with the way the client is. The relationship just isn't working. Sometimes there's just some friction and you can't really do much about it. What do you do? Or what if you keep getting bad clients? What do you do? What if you keep getting the same type of client that's kind of like toxic or just a pain in the ass to deal with? And what do you do? How do you avoid those kind of clients? This is what this episode is going to be about, because I've gone through it and I don't want you to go through it. Well, to be honest, having bad clients helped me learn how to appreciate my good clients, because when a client is good, that relationship stays, and you can watch each other grow, you help each other grow. It's a very mutual thing. Someone's paying for a service, but you end up having a very good relationship with that person. But if it's a bad client, one bad client can really mess up your game, and just one tweet can screw you over. You could have 10 good clients in a row, and then the 11th client will be a bad client. They don't like you, and they send a tweet saying this person arrived late, or this person's service was really bad. Don't buy from this person. That's really going to mess up your program. What do you do when that happens? We don't really talk about this much, about damage control and all that kind of stuff. But hopefully in this episode, if we have enough time, it's going to be a fairly short episode, but if we have enough time, we are going to talk about how to deal with that, how to do damage control, So first off, the first thing you need to do when you have a creative service, business, you might even have a creative product, the best thing you can do is to spot the red flags in advance. The best way to avoid to not have bad clients is not to get in a partnership with them in the first place. It's to look out for the red flags. So it's just like, with anything really, with any product that you buy on Amazon. For me, if I'm going to buy a product on Amazon, I'm always going to look at the reviews. I'm always going to, see what is actually good. And it works in the same way when you're dealing with clients and you're scouting for clients, because it's a two-way thing. They have the responsibility to make sure that you can deliver what they want. However, it's also your responsibility to know whether this client is going to be good for you. And if it's not going to be good for you, don't force yourself to be in there. And one way to avoid bad clients is to look at the red flags. Learn the red flags. Talk to other creatives that are in your industry or other creatives in general, and ask them, what are the red flags? Put in the comments below if you're on YouTube, what are the red flags of your that you've actually learned. Or if you're on Instagram or whatever platform you're watching this on, let me know what the red flags are when it comes to clients. And I have a few, and this is just the first part of this, yeah? So I have a few red flags that I would like to cover. First off, one of the things that a bad client will most consistently do is ask for a heavy discount. I saw a meme the other day that my sister showed me. It said, I might put it up on the screen. It said, a client that a $50, what did she say? Like something along like $50 work, yeah? The client wants all the changes in the world, and I want to know that you can, it's just an essay. I want to know that you can deliver this, and I'm not confident that you can do all this, blah, 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 blah. But someone that's paying $50,000 is saying, here's the money. Get on with it. I've experienced this before, yeah? I don't do design as much as I used to because I don't really push that side. But like, I know from my experience, it's been the clients that are willing to pay much more are actually the least stressful, and the clients that really want a big cheap discount are the ones that are the biggest pain to deal with. Especially when, you know, like, it's such a big project and it takes a lot of work. You know, the ones that are always asking for a big discount, the ones that are always like, and I know discounts are reasonable, yeah? It's always good to find a good deal. I always encourage anyone to find a good deal. However, some of these discounts are unrealistic. So let's say you charge $2,000 for a service, a creative service, and they want it for 200. Pardon? Excuse me. Am I a charity here? I'm running a business here. I got to buy food. I've got electricity bills. I got the internet bills. I got kids, you know. Like, I cannot feed myself or my family because I am doing this £200 piece of work. And then when you say you're not discounting them, they get offended and they're like, oh, you know, I can just go on Fiverr or whatever. I beg, go on Fiverr. So let's see what happens, isn't it? I hope you find something good there. But it's the sort of things like, they always want the cheapest work. They don't want to pay anything, but they want the best work. That doesn't make any sense, because with any other thing in the world where you're going shopping, when you're buying really good stuff, generally you get what you pay for. I'm not gonna buy a really cheap computer. Do you know why? Or a really cheap laptop, because it's probably gonna break in like a few months. It's just not gonna work. However, if I pay more, the rule of thumb is that the more you pay, the better service you get in anything. So why would you go to a creative and say, I only want to pay 50 quid for something and expect the best work in the world? That doesn't work. So one of the red flags is to avoid people that want big discounts. And if they want a huge discount, do not be obliged to work with them. You don't have to work with them. I like to say the less time spent on cheap work is more time you can spend on work that actually pays you well. So that's the first red flag. Second red flag is them saying that you can use the work in your portfolio. So I once had I've had several conversations with people when I was just starting out, and a lot of the time I used to hear, oh, I want you to design this thing for me. I'm only going to pay you this much, but you can also use it in your portfolio. That is such a huge insult to a creative. Imagine, just like in my previous example when I said you can't live on that. You can't live on cheap work, yeah? People seem to think that they have the greatest idea in the world. Everyone thinks that they have the greatest idea in the world. You know how many people have come up to me saying that they have an idea for an app? A, they want me to build it. I don't build apps. They don't really know what I do. B, your idea is not that great in the first place. But everyone seems to think that they have the best idea in the world. But, you know, everything's been done before. Those kind of clients seem to think that they have so much value in what they're doing, therefore they shouldn't. But if it just doesn't make any sense to me, because it's like, you think your idea is the best thing in the world, but you're not willing to pay more money for it, and then you want to tell people, oh, you can use this, is going to be such a great thing, I'm going to be getting a lot of, you know, it's going to be very popular, it's going to break records, it's going to be something new, it's never been done before, therefore you can put the work in your portfolio and that will make you have more work. There are things that I've done. I'll tell the story about this. I have done government work. I did not get any clients from that. So you can't eat people's promises. You can't eat people's promises. People are just like, I promise that you'll get more work from this if you do me this favor. But I can't. Sorry, my brother. Sorry, my sister. I can't eat your favors. You can't pay me with like your promises. And your promise. What if? Worst case scenario. What if I do all this work for you? I do your branding. I do your website. I do everything for you for a really cheap amount of money. And it doesn't take off. What then? It's not you that's the idiot. It's me that's the idiot because I allowed you to take advantage of me. So you need to avoid those kind of clients that seem to think that their idea is the best thing in the world. And they just want you to, they say, yeah, I don't have a budget to pay you, but you can put it in your portfolio. Are you kidding me? Do I have Mumu written on my head? I must look like an idiot because like you think you can actually say that to me. And it means they don't rate you. It also means they do not rate you and they don't value you. If someone says that, do not work with them. Guarantee it. And I've worked with people like that. Do not work with them because you can't eat people's promises. Promises ain't edible. Number 3. They're slow at responding to communication. Now, this one, I hesitated to put it in. I didn't, because life, it gets busy. Yeah, I understand that people aren't always going to be responsive. They're not always going to be responsive when you call them or text them or whatever. I'm pretty bad when people text me. Yeah, on WhatsApp with my personal relationships. I am pretty bad when people WhatsApp me. But when it comes to business, I try and respond as soon as possible and get onto the phone because I know I do not want to keep people waiting. If someone wants you to do some creative work and they take ages, and I'm not saying they take a couple of days, they take like a week to respond to you, a week or more, I'll be a bit wary of it because that shows how they might be in a professional relationship. So let's say you finally get into a project with someone and it took a while because they weren't responding to your emails and they weren't answering your phone calls, but eventually you got the deposit or whatever it is and you started doing the work. But then this project is supposed to take maybe 3 weeks, but it ends up taking 3 months because this client doesn't actually respect time, and they're not bad people, but they just manage their time very badly, so they don't get back to you in a good time. This time that could have been spent actually working on the project and getting feedback. So they take a long time to give you feedback, and then the project drags on. And that is why I'll say someone that's very bad at correspondence, that's very bad at getting back to you, that is a red flag because it can actually delay the project more than necessary. Because if you spend too long on a project, it's like it's up in limbo and you have bills to pay. So if they don't pay you on time, you might actually miss those bills. You might be really relying on this money because those bills need to be paid. But someone that takes a long time to get back to you, this project's not going to finish. I've had projects that have dragged on for months because they're so bad at communication. And finally, the person is an order taker. I mean, the person wants an order taker and they don't want a problem solver. That is the thing. Like, watch out for people that want an order taker and they don't want a problem solver. How I can explain, right? They're 2 different restaurants. One restaurant is your typical takeaway. You see what's on the menu, go to the waiter and say, I want this, and they come and bring it to you. You pay, you eat, and you leave. The next restaurant, they don't have a menu. Instead, you have to speak to the waiter, or they have a very limited menu. And you want a specific kind of cocktail or you want a specific type of meal and you know the style of meal that they do, then you ask the waiter, hey, do you do this? What can you do? I'm in the mood for this. And the waiter will be like, I suggest this kind of wine for you. I suggest this kind of dessert. Those are 2 different restaurants. So one is fast food and one is kind of more I don't know what's the word, bougie but it's more kind of upper, like bougie, kind of the one that you take when you want to impress someone and take them out on a date. That's the type of Michelin star kind of restaurant, right? I'm not saying Michelin star restaurants don't have menus, but they do. A lot of them have limited menus. That's an example I like to give. So some people want the first example I gave. Some people want you to come and give them a logo, or they want you to give them photography. They want the deliverable. They want the outcome, but they don't want the process. That is what an order taker is. So for me, in my field, someone will come to me and say, I want a logo, and I design a logo and give it to them. I don't ask any questions. I just give them what they want. They have this idea in their head and I draw it, or I create a vector of it and call it a day. That's me being an order taker. But a problem solver will say, why do you want a logo? What are the problems you're facing now, and how can we resolve that problem so that you can succeed in your business idea? What can I do to solve your problem, rather than giving you what you think you need? Someone that doesn't want to solve any problems, that is gets frustrated at the process, people that do not like process, I will see that as a red flag. If someone comes to me and says, I want a logo, and I say, well, the logo is not going to solve your problems. What you need is branding, a brand strategy, and then they get deterred by that, that is going to be a red flag for me, and I don't want to work with that person, because they are deterred by process. They are deterred by telling a story, and they are deterred by, quite frankly, doing the work. Avoid those kinds of clients. So those are the 4 red flags. But what if you've already started a project? You might be listening to this or watching this and you're like, oh my gosh, I am actually in the middle of a bad relationship with the client. Not saying the client is a bad person. I'm not saying this at all. But you might be in the relationship in a client relationship that isn't really doing any good and is actually more stress than it's worth. What do? You need to ask yourself, is it worth continuing the relationship? While you're going through it and you're like stressed, the person is really bad at getting back to you. They're constantly complaining, finding things that are wrong. The relationship is just not great. It's a toxic relationship. Imagine that you have a relationship with a family member or someone that you know, and it's just a toxic relationship. You just don't get along. Is it worth continuing that relationship? Okay, family is a bit different, but if there's someone that you are around on a regular basis and it's really toxic, sometimes you need to ask yourself, is it worth continuing that relationship? It works in the same way. If you have a client and the client is actually very toxic, abusive, some clients are really abusive. They just like to really always find something wrong, and they're calling you names, and they're just really rude and stuff like that. I don't know if that client is worth having. So you need to ask yourself, is it worth continuing this relationship with the client? And you might just have to end it, So that's the first thing you need to ask yourself. The next thing you need to look at is you need to record all the information that comes from the client, and all the communication that you have, record it. And this is why I am very anti social media and WhatsApp when it comes to official things, because it's always better to have a conversation on the phone, have a conversation on WhatsApp, but also you need to confirm that conversation with a follow-up email. Email is going to save your life. And I'll give you an example of how it's really helped me. I had a client that was a bad client, and I managed to resolve the issue because I had a record of all the communication that we had, because they tried to say that, I was wasting their time and their website was supposed to be launched like 2 months ago, and it was my fault that it hadn't been launched. Meanwhile, I would ask them this is why I said, if they're very bad at communication, they're probably going to be a bad client, because this client said, was blaming me for all the issues. They're never going to blame themselves. They're going to blame you, because you are the creative. So what I did, I said, okay, I had all the receipts. You were not going to play me. The thing about me, I will always have a record, and I wouldn't say something, and I wouldn't say something about someone or a situation if I don't know for sure that's what it's about. Which is why I always have email communication, because you can just go back. and have a timeline of everything. So what happened to me was that I said, okay, on this date, we closed the project. We agreed this is what we were going to do. I said, you need to send me your photos in the next couple of weeks. You didn't send them until a month later. I was building the website. In fact, I started building the website before I had the photographs, but it took you ages to send me the photographs. When I actually built the website and put it together, I asked you for feedback. You did not give me feedback for another month. So I had a whole timeline. I literally sent a document saying, this is everything that we talked about. It's not my fault that the site hasn't gone live. It is your fault because you refuse to respond to me and get back to me with feedback. And this is what happens. So what are we going to do? You need to get back to me. And she couldn't say anything because it's just like, okay, she actually I didn't care about losing the client at that point in time because I was just like, you're really taking the piss. So what are you going to say? And you don't always have and I'm not rude. I am just very frank about the things that I know. And I was very frank and I said, this is the timeline and this is how our communication has been. You need to respond on time, otherwise your stuff is not going to get delivered. So you need to get back to me when I email you and when I text you, because I'm not delaying the project, you are. She agreed and the project got finished. So you need to record all your communication via email, because they can also deny that the communication ever happened if you only have communication over the phone. And they need to respond and agree to things via email as well, because they can say that they never agreed to something. Meanwhile, they did. And also, if they're making your job really, really hard, if they just constantly get in the way of you actually delivering things, staff is getting stressed, you are getting stressed, they are causing you they are really delaying the work, and it's really not worth you, because time is also money. Yeah, it's not worth you wasting your time. You might have to just end the relationship, break up with them. You might have to fire your client. And I am very I am not anti-firing your client. I believe, sorry about that, my mic was about to die, but I believe that some clients should get fired because they're bad clients. This isn't a thing where you don't have any kind of power, because you're the one that's supposed to be giving them what they need. But if they are getting in the way and they are not worth the time and the money, and they are absolutely toxic, I would encourage you to fire them. That's if they are in the wrong. And I'll get onto that later on, but if they are completely in the wrong, you have email evidence and everything, and it's still not making any changes, and it's not worth your stress, you might have to fire your client. And in order to fire them, you need to actually have a frank conversation with them and say, hey, let's have a chat about our relationship. Let's have a chat about the project and how we can move forward. You need to also throw the olive branch. Say, how can we move forward from this? And if they refuse to move forward, just say, you need to tell them, okay, I don't think it's worth us continuing this professional relationship. I wish you the best. If you want to give them the money back, you can give them the money back, but keep all of your files. Because if they use any of your creative work, that's they don't have the rights to that. You have the rights to that. Yeah. So, keep all your artwork files, all your everything, and just say goodbye. Fire them and quit. Let it be amicable as possible, and spend more time on clients that you enjoy, clients that treat you nicely, clients that are not toxic, clients that pay more, right? So you might have to just fire them. But that is a last resort, but it's still an option. But also, the last thing is, how do you deter bad clients? Like I said, it's best not to get involved with them in the first place. So how do you deter bad clients? There are some techniques that I like to use when it comes to deterring bad clients. And the first thing I do is increase my rates. The best thing you can do to avoid bad clients is to increase your rates, because like I said before, a red flag of a bad client is someone that doesn't want to pay. If you increase your rates, quadruple them. I'm not joking, quadruple your rates. If you feel like you're not getting what your money's worth out of the work you're doing, quadruple your rates. I used to say double, quadruple your rates, and find out what client has the money and go for them. and push content to them and attract those clients that actually have money. Stop attracting clients that don't have money, and increase your rates. If someone comes to me for a logo, I'm not going to do it because like they can't afford me, and that's okay that they can't afford me, and it's also okay that my rates are quite high. It's okay that my rates are quite high, and they're not even that high, to be honest, compared to a lot of people. But if someone wants to do some branding work with me, it's going to be quite high because it needs to be worth my time. And I do not want to work with someone that is, lack of a better word, cheap. That's not my target audience. So increase your rates, and that will deter people that are actually toxic clients, that are bad clients, because bad clients do not want to pay. The next thing you can do is be upfront about what you're providing. I have a landing page showing exactly what it is that I'm providing in any training and strategy that I do. Exactly what you're going to get. You're going to get this. I list it in bullet points. I also say this course is not for you if you are not willing to do these things. And if you are basically, I get rid of all the time wasters. Not only is it a premium price, but I say what you get at that premium price. It gives people comfort knowing what they're getting, but also people that just want an order taker, someone that can just hash out something creative and hand it over to them. It deters them because that's not what they're looking for. They can go find a cheap service online or whatever. That's their problem. I'm not the one that's gonna be breaking my back over something like that. So be upfront about what you're providing, and it's going to actually filter out those people that want order takers. Be upfront. Have a written contract. Write up a contract, terms of agreement, and there are templates you can get online. It's not that hard. I think I use a company that for my invoices, and they have the terms written already. And Unstuck, they have terms for creatives written already in their in the invoicing, so I don't need to worry about that. And it covers, it covers everything that's to do with creativity and ownership and all that kind of stuff. And you can adjust the terms as well. I'm not getting paid for this, but whatever. And.co is a good platform. But having the contract and terms lets them know that, legally what they can pretty much get away with. And in these terms, it includes things like rights of ownership. So I keep, like, for example, if you're a designer, you keep the rights to the artwork files and you have the right to put it in your portfolio. It's not their choice, it's your choice, right? And they have a certain amount of usage rights. So for example, if it's like if it's a logo, for example, this logo could actually only appear on certain things like flyers, but it can't be on TV. You need more rights for that. You need to pay more for the rights to do that because it is still yours, right? They don't have, that's a myth as well. When you design a logo for someone, it is not actually completely theirs until they pay for the full ownership rights of those logos. It's the same way like a photographer, when they go to a wedding and they take pictures, take photographs of the wedding, the couple don't get all the files. They don't get all the photos that the photographer takes. They get the pictures that they take. So as a designer, if you are doing a logo, you have to sell the rights to use that logo, because that person could actually go off and print that logo anywhere they want or put it on TV or do whatever. But in reality, they need to pay for the right to do that and the full usage rights so that they can do whatever they want with the logo, and it's not your problem anymore. If they're not willing to pay all of that, it's got to be limited, and that's why you need terms and contracts. And people that aren't serious are afraid of terms. They are afraid of terms. They don't want to sign anything. They don't even want to approve anything. That because they're a bad client. So even for me, you don't even have to sign anything. It says my terms say as soon as you pay the initial deposit, you agree to these terms. So they don't even have to sign anything. So like, having a contract will protect you and it will protect the client. So make sure you get those written. Avoid doing favors. That's the next thing you need to do. Avoid doing favors for people. You don't have to do favors. Favors are nice. Favors are a good gesture. But a lot of the time when it comes to being a creative, favors actually cause you much more stress. And the favors tend to be huge favors, massive favors that are pretty unrealistic. So you need to avoid doing those favors. And if you're going to do favors, keep them really small. But avoid doing those favors, because these favors end up being really, really stressful. And clients that just want favors all the time, and if you tell them, no, I can't do this favor for you, and they get upset about that and they run away, that's their problem. Again, you don't have to have those clients. Stop trying to close every single client. You need to close the right client for you as a creative, and let that echo to other clients that are right for you. Not trying to please bad clients. You don't need to please bad clients because they're bad clients. So avoid doing favors for people. And in line with this, which is also in line, you need to avoid working for family and close friends, because they are not your target audience. Because when you are, and it's not really a judgment on them, it's just that when you are working for family and when you're working for close friends, you end up feeling like you owe them a favor. You end up feeling like you have to give them a discount. You have to throw something in because they're family, because they're friends. So avoid actually doing work for family and close friends, because the relationship could turn sour and it could be a pain, and you're like, nah, I wish I never actually got into this creative work with them, because they always want the most favors. Like, hey, I'm your uncle. Hey, I'm your cousin. Hey, I've known you for a long time. I want this for free, or I want this for do a friends rate, mates rates, do that. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with mates rates, but like, it's not for everyone. So me as a friend, I would much rather pay you your worth than expect free stuff from you. I would like I have cousins that I've paid to do creative work for. Like my event, my cousin, he's a photographer. I paid him to do it. And if there's anything, for example, that I'm involved in and he's gonna take pictures, I'm gonna make sure he gets paid. As a friend, it will make me a bad relative and a bad friend if I don't pay the people that I care about. But it's not everyone has that kind of mindset. So if you keep doing work for family and friends, you're going to feel like you're obliged to do them a favor, and they're going to expect that favor. You're not making any money from that. So I'm sorry, but your friends and family can be very, very bad clients because of the expectations. But again, the same deterrent that I've mentioned in the previous bullet points, that also applies to friends and family. Just say, this is the contract, this is how much it costs, and you're not discounting it. And if you're going to discount it, do a really small discount, that's okay, but don't do any massive favors, because you might not have that friend anymore or that family member. It might be very awkward at birthdays and parties. So yeah, and there is one point that I would like to make. I know I've talked about the client in this whole podcast episode. I've talked about the client and it's like I've ripped them apart, you know? But you also have to ask yourself, am I the problem? The client is not your enemy. You have to remember that the client is not your enemy. It is your job to solve the problem as a creative. If you're unsolving the problem, you are the problem. So a lot of the time we like to blame clients and talk about clients from hell, clients of this and that, which is fair, because there are clients that are absolute demons and they need prayer. They need to be taken to church and they need to be exorcised. Those clients exist. However, sometimes it is our problem. Sometimes we are the problem. Sometimes us creators, because we fail to put the fail safes in place to avoid these kind of clients, we are the problem. That's why we keep attracting really bad clients, because we refuse to change ourselves. Sometimes we creatives are the problem, and we have to learn to change so that we can manage people's expectations. Sometimes we attract the bad clients because we are bad creatives. And that is what I'm going to leave you guys with on this podcast. Do you agree or disagree? Use the hashtag Unstuck podcast. On Twitter, you can find me at _Demi Harper on all platforms, Twitter and Instagram, and you can find this on YouTube too. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I'll be back in 2 weeks with another great episode. I think the battery on my camera is running out, so I'm going to stop it there. Peace out, guys, and I hope you have a good couple of weeks. Bye.